Hello everyone, my name is Jolene Schaefer and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, 3 Ways to Lower Your DSO, or Days Sales Outstanding, presented by Anytime Collect. A little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise down. However, you can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar. To submit a question, look for the question section in your GoToWebinar. We will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. We are recording the presentation and it will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees as well as to those who registered but were not able to attend. Please take a moment at the end of the presentation to answer our 2-question survey. With that said, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to attend our webinar. We're here to help you get the most out of your software solutions and help you find an easier way to run your business by providing you software and industry knowledge, tools, and support whenever you need it. We've invited Anytime Collect to present today because they are the industry leader in AR automation. So whether you're here doing research for a new solution or you're just here to learn, we'd like to encourage you to ask any questions throughout the webinar. Lastly, as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels. So we encourage you to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Matt.
Thank you, and welcome everybody. I'm excited to be here today and share with you a little bit about our solution. Today we'll explore 3 ways to reduce DSO. Why is that important? Because it really is all about your bank balance. Days sales outstanding is a widely used metric that tracks the effectiveness of collecting receivables. DSO communicates the average number of days it takes a company to collect what is owed after the sale has been completed. So reducing DSO increases cash flow and is key to reducing, and what's key to reducing that is really new automation and better tools for your AR team. So let's dig into this a little bit deeper. First, a little bit about me. My name is Matt Shanahan. My responsibility is to develop product strategy at Lockstep. Lockstep is the maker of Anytime Collect. I spend a lot of time talking with our customers about their challenges and priorities. And I'm happy to share with you some of the latest discussions we've been having with CFOs regarding the reduction of DSO. Some more things that you should know about us. Our flagship product is called Anytime Collect. Anytime Collect makes collecting cash faster and easier. Anytime Collect is used right now by over 160 companies and has more than 10,000 daily users of the application and the payment portal. We're also the leaders in connectivity. At Lockstep, we think that connectivity has the power to unlock productivity and business benefits. Our integration platform has the most number of connectors in the industry. And if you don't see yours on our list here, please feel free to ask. We're always adding to the list. Finally, we also have the deepest expertise in the industry. We process over 1.2 million invoices monthly. There are more than 2 million invoiced companies currently active in our platform. And over time, we've helped vendors collect over $50 billion in cash. So we've got a good track record in helping people reduce their DSO. So reducing DSO is good. As we said, it increases your bank balance, which means you have more working capital to invest in the business. That working capital also increases your cash from operations by reducing, essentially the interest expense or increasing your interest income. What we also witness is that reducing DSO always increases operational efficiency in the form of freed up staff time. So there's a lot of benefits for tackling this. Obviously the cash flow, but we'll get into the freed up staff time as well and where that time can be better spent. Right now, when we look inside the market, companies are expecting DSOs to grow. So this is sort of the bad side of the equation. Radius is a research company that monitors through a series of surveys the payment trends globally. These are some of the trends that they identified in June of 2019 for the US market. While all companies experience some form of late payment, 74% of the companies experienced a continuous cycle of late payments from an existing set of customers. In fact, overall, across all companies, 24% of the total value of receivables is currently past due. And over a third of those companies are expecting an increase in late payments during the next 12 months. So it's clearly an issue that CFOs are looking at and trying to tackle. So what we've done is we conduct our own benchmarks. And in our benchmarks, the accounts receivable staff require anywhere from 25 to 40 minutes per phone call. This includes prep time to get the information that they need to be able to have a conversation with the customer, the actual call time with the customer, and then post-call administration, where they're doing notes and write-ups and making sure promises to pays are put away, et cetera. So there's a lot of activity to getting that done. Through a combination of both phone calls and emails throughout the day, the average AR staff can really only complete somewhere between 40 and 60 outbound communications on a daily basis. That limited capacity of the AR staff means that less than 10% of the customers are contacted after invoice presentment. So there's no nurturing, even because you do want to contact customers that are still within the payment window just to give them reminders. But most organizations don't have the bandwidth or capacity to do that. So they focus on the 60 days past due and above. In fact, the Hackett Group recently reported that one of the biggest obstacles to reducing DSO was the lack of technology adoption by accounting departments. So our benchmarking identified 3 high impact ways that you can reduce DSO. The first is automate outbound communications to your customers regarding the status of their account and their invoices. Keep them informed and nudge their payments along. Second, deflect inbound emails. By providing customers with self-service access to their information, they can get what they need and then make their payments on a timely basis. Third, really think about empowering your AR team with things like prioritized action lists, a consolidated view of the customer, and tools to engage and unlock payments. These 3 strategies really have the biggest impact in the ways that you can reduce DSO. So let's go through each of these in a little more detail. First, we'll look at how you can reduce DSO through automation. Accounts receivable is constantly reaching out to customers to notify and nudge along the payments. And they're also trying to provide or get information from customers. This includes communication about the aging of invoices or getting information from a new customer that they're onboarding. Notifying customers about their credit limit, resolving the dispute, things like verifying account details to ensure proper delivery of communications and invoices. Also educating customers with promotional material on how to get contacted or changes in payment. All of those are kind of outreaches that need to occur. As we mentioned, outside of emailing the invoice from the ERP, most of this is manual activity by an accounts receivable team. So it represents a fairly large workload. What we've seen is that there's a technology called AR sequencing, which is a way to reduce the DSO. AR sequencing is intelligent automation that sends communications and can even assign a task to staff members. Here's an example of just a sequence, so a series of steps that helps to nudge along or move an invoice to on-time payment. So in this example, we're trying to nurture online payment. So when a new invoice is created, there's a trigger for a notification to be automatically sent to the customer. Then there can be another trigger that says to send out an early payment offer. So if you're trying to incentivize payments to come in early, this is a way to automatically get that out and use business rules so that those offers go only to your best customers. When an invoice is getting close to being due, Again, automatically a reminder is sent out, and finally, when it's due on the day of, but it might still have a greater than 0 balance, a due today reminder is sent along. It's interesting, if you look in the consumer world, these kinds of reminders and updates are very, very useful and a common part of the customer experience. AR sequencing is a way to bring that same consumer experience into the B2B world. So you're really being able to provide a much better customer engagement model using this. As I mentioned, AR sequencing provides that intelligent automation across all of your customer outreach, from onboarding through collections, through education. The screenshot you see to the right is a good example of what it takes to actually set one of these up. This is how you build an AR sequence. There's simply the ability to add individual steps and then put a trigger. When an invoice is due in 7 days, please email the customer using this template. And you can see the little editor, the ability to sort of add your own business rules right here in the middle of the screen. Then once these are built, you can simply turn it on, and then within minutes, you've defined and deployed automation that scales up your outreach and reduces your DSO. So the second way that you're able to actually reduce your DSO is to deflect work that the customers could do themselves. It sounds boring, but our benchmarks, we went through and we looked at the AR inboxes to try and understand what was coming in from customers and what could be automated. And what we found was that inbox was loaded with to-dos and requests from customers. So here were some examples. Oh, please update our contact information. I need your W-9. Can you please send it to me? Hey, we lost that invoice. Could you please send it again? By the way, it's the end of the month. We're trying to do reconciliation. Can you get that statement to us right away? Yeah, we promised to pay. Thank you for the notice. Just register this date for us. And then remittance information. So they've made a payment and they're telling you how to apply it to the different invoices. All of those represent, work activity that has to be done by the AR team. But what if you could deflect all that work and customers could self-serve? That's exactly what a self-service portal does, is it cleans out your inbox. Because now customers can go online. This does two things. One, it reduces the amount of time they have to wait for your response. So customer satisfaction actually goes up with customer self-service. It also takes that work off of your plate. So both parties actually do better in this case. You can see the list of functionality required to create a full service experience in the portal. So everything from being able to access invoices, make an online payment, do all of the other activities such as promise to pay, get access to supporting documents, all of that needs to be available. Now, adoption of the portal is critical to reducing DSO. So the portal itself has to be incredibly easy to use and engaging. It has to be a consumer experience such as the one you're seeing here. Is, anyone who's used a banking site or any of those, they don't want to go through training to understand how to get something done. They just want to go in and have it very intuitive and easy to use. So the final way to reduce DSO is to really look at how do you empower your staff. Manual collections, as we talked about, is a big obstacle to reducing DSO. It's a pretty common practice to export data from your accounting system or ERP, put that data, the receivables data, into a spreadsheet about all the invoices, and create your own aging report within Excel. After that, you start sending out emails one by one or making calls, and then logging notes back into that spreadsheet. This is a very common practice that we benchmarked across all these organizations. Additionally, some other things fall into place. The lack of centralized workflow for the team means that individual collectors are really pursuing their own priorities rather than an agreed upon set of priorities. And sharing status becomes very difficult between team members. And if you think about it, empowerment is really all about having great tools. So to work with customers, sales has Salesforce. Support, when they're working with customers, they have Zendesk, right? So that's a system that allows them to see every customer account, all the communication back and forth. If they're working on an individual case, they can get that done. If you go into IT, they even have a solution for this. So they're using things like Jira, Service Desk, that allows them to engage with all of their stakeholders and provide services in a good way. And yet, when you go to AR, the most common tools that they are using is Outlook or Gmail. Unfortunately, as we talked about, Outlook and Gmail don't have the automation needed for the accounts receivable, so outbound communications cannot be automated. It doesn't have any portal capabilities to provide access for customers to be able to look at their information. And it doesn't pull in data from the accounting system to help with the preparation or save the notes at the end of something. So that's why, empowering AR with a purpose-built tool will actually have a pretty big impact on, DSO. An ability that says within one application, somebody on the accounts receivable team can look at and manage the credit. If somebody hitting their credit limit, how do you follow up on that? Being able to automatically age invoices and provide insights into that so that it doesn't have to be done manually inside Excel. Follow-ups, if you've contacted a customer and there's a cadence and you need to have a follow-up in the future, how are you reminded of that and brought that into place? Things like contact management. Does everybody have the same set of contacts? Do you know who's who at each account? And then certainly things like disputes, being able to resolve those quickly, even to be able to do escalation on disputes and then finally promise to pay. So having a capability, and for a collections team, knowing what their goals are for the month, of being able to see how much collection activity are we trying to accomplish, where are we on our goals, and how do we get this best done with the next best actions being offered right here. So let's put all these together. There were three things, and let's see how they all work together to really drive and lower DSO. So as we mentioned, Anytime Collect brings these capabilities together in one solution. The first thing that Anytime Collect does is it synchronizes data, the needed data for your AR team, directly out of the ERP and CRM. So all of that data is made available and kept up to date in one location, consolidated into a single view. Next, AR sequencing is that configurable rules engine that automatically initiates customer communications or assigns team activities. So we'll look at that, the assignment, in a few minutes. Multi-channel communications is what is driving personalized communications across all channels. So using email, SMS, even automated calling, so that at every stage of the customer and invoice lifecycle, the right outreach can happen at the right time at scale. The customer portal provides really that self-service capability for payment, so get your cash in the door, but then also for all those requests and other workflows, such as invoice statement request or dispute resolution and promise to pay. And then the service desk really gives the collectors the productivity is to, be ready for what's the next best action. As the sequencing engine says, hey, here's the thing to focus on. Providing that 360-degree view so that then they can have a much more productive and focused either phone call or communication with the customer. And it's really these three things, when they come together, that make the difference. So the customer communications, the portal, and the service desk working in unison to free up staff time. And so where does that staff time go? In fact, that's one of the biggest discussions with CFOs and controllers, is what to do with the unlocked resources. Most of them view AR really as a customer service role. And therefore, their desire is to have their staff focused on customer service activities. such that really unlock cash. For instance, providing reporting support to high-value customers. That accelerates those customers' internal approvals and payments. Another great example is resolving disputes faster. A typical dispute can take 2 to 4 weeks to resolve. Cutting that by 50% or more can have a dramatic impact. That focus, rather than performing transactional communications, is a much higher value to the organization. I wanted to finish with a couple of case examples. The first is one of a company called Perlick. They're in the refrigeration and bar dispensing industry. They were growing pretty rapidly, and they needed to figure out how could they get ahead of the now 1,300 active accounts and growing list. Originally, what they had was they had a shared generic accounts receivable email address, and they were using Outlook. Oftentimes, the team was missing, different customers or forgetting to follow up, and that's because somebody had to manually go in and assign who was going to do what, and assignments would get missed. And they were spending all day long just trying to get ahead of these emails. And so after implementing Anytime Collect, they were able to do a couple things. Inbound emails were auto-assigned and put out to people. But more importantly, a lot of outbound automation was put in place, reducing the inbound inquiries. So information was getting out very quickly. What they saw was a complete transformation in their DSO. Within several months, they went from 44 days of DSO down to 37. So that's a pretty big impact when you think about that reduction. Additionally, on-time payment went from 88.3% to 95.7%. Just to put that in perspective, that's a 63% drop in their past due aging. And then finally, they were able to save 54 hours of staff time as a result of these automations and capabilities. And then let's take a deeper look at a business case for reducing DSO. The following is another example using Anytime Collect. In this case, the company saw an opportunity to reduce DSO by 21 days. For them, that was $14.6 million increase in working capital. It also meant they could generate $343,000 a year of cash improvement from their operations. Their past due dropped by 78%, and they freed up over 266 hours of staff time. So a pretty substantial impact when you look at what they were able to achieve. So as we said, there's a lot of good in reducing DSO. We've walked through some of the 3 ways to make that happen. We would love to be able to give anybody that would be interested a personal demo. So certainly feel free to go to anytimecollect.com. And also at anytimecollect.com, we've been working on this for, as we talked about, 10 years. There's a vast set of resources, articles and blog posts on how-tos, et cetera. So we encourage you to take advantage of this. And with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you so much, Matt. If any of you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the screen. We'll give that a couple minutes to see if any come through. Okay, well, thank you so much, Matt, for your informative presentation and for taking time to be here today.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for hosting the webinar.
Definitely. If there's any questions that come through, we will reach out and respond to you each individually at the end of the webinar as well. Thank you so much.
Great.
Have a great rest of your day.